Hi, welcome. In this video, I want to talk about the issue of verbal commands. And one thing that's really challenging for people when they watch my videos, you see the system, is the fact that I'm not following the same path as other trainers with using treats, motivating dogs to respond in a very superficial way, engaging in basically a level of bribery. Okay, and I talk about this whole issue about bribery on my videos. Why that's a problem, why it is that things can look really good and feel really good but not be good. Okay, but again, I'm lining the stuff up with the parenting example, which I do often help people kind of get their heads around it as to why you want to approach training the way that I do it, by way of a interaction based approach. But one of the challenging issues too is the tendency, again, to try to work off verbal commands, okay, right away, when your dog's already gained a level of control in the relationship, when the perceptions have already changed, when you're already faded out. And so what's really common is people really desperately want to verbalize everything to get the dog to respond. But again, what I would encourage you to think about is a couple things here, okay? And this is where you have to apply some critical thinking, okay? And this will be helpful because it really help you understand why I do training the way that I do. In fact, if you watch my service dog training process, I put it out there, you'll see the whole kind of process, what my focus is on, how I kind of package everything up at the very beginning. And you're not going to see me verbalizing using verbal commands, but rather I'm focused on the language of these interactions, okay? The intent as to the dog understanding what you're doing, okay, coming into agreement with it, but the intent in terms of perceptions changing with packaging how you're perceived. And then at a certain point, once the perceptions of dogs have changed a certain level, then you can start to verbalize. Okay, so understand it's all about, how things, the sequencing, okay, how things come together by way of relationship. Okay, just think about that. And think about verbal commands too. If people using verbal commands, consider the selfish child that's already selfish, and the parent who's saying, I'm going to count to 10 and you better come out of the toy aisle. Right? And the child already knows. I mean, the child ain't coming out. You're going to get to 11 and 12, and the child's still there, because it is about relationship. Okay, it's about the motives. It's about how the child perceives you that way in terms of parenting. It's all of that, right? Versus a different parent. Just a look is going to get them to motivate them to respond properly, because it's about what's already been established. Okay. So just a look, right? And so think about, getting to a point with dogs using like hand signals, okay, and the dog responding. It's the same stuff. It's about perceptions. But here's the thing, again, getting back to this thing about verbal commands, okay, not, verbalizing it, working off the language of the method by way of, again, the intent as to what you're trying to do, but also, influence being part of it. So again, I tell people, instead of verbalizing, now here's the thing, is you can verbalize, okay, you can say sit, because sometimes it's helpful to express that way, but you need to be pushing, okay, you need to be asserting influence over the dog at the same moment, and not saying sit, or down, okay. You need to actually, it needs to be action focused, okay. Influence needs to be part of it, because understand, it is about influence, okay. It's about who's in control. It's a power play. It really is. It has to be a power play, and it needs to be a power play. But again, not the type of power play, and this is where people get caught up in this, in not understanding, and they get upset over stuff because they look at the reaction of a dog and they don't reconcile it to the relationship itself. Okay, just think about the parenting example. You could have a child having a extreme temper tantrum fit, right? And if you're not, depending on your attitude, maybe your perceptions about certain things, you may fall into that trap of saying, what did the parent do to create that? The parent must have did something wrong. Versus, well, no, maybe the kid is just a brat, and what happened was a reasonable demand was put on the child, and now you're seeing the real deal. Well, there's the truth, right? And that's where we're at, even in society. You get a lot of that. So understand that. But here's the thing: if your goals really are to achieve a certain result, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Okay, this whole thing about bribing dogs and what's popular, see, that's the problem, is that people follow that path because it aligns with how they want to think. And then they want to blame the dog, or they want to complain because things aren't working out so well. Well, same thing. I mean, there's depth of relationship. Understand, it's about depth of relationships. All to say that verbal commands happen once a dog is coming into agreement with these interactions, once the perceptions change, and then you can start to verbalize, and dogs can respond for the right reasons, okay, based again on the perceptions changing. So it's all about packaging, okay, understand, it's all about packaging. But all to say, if you look at the issue about verbal commands in this system, it'll help you understand just how much critical thinking went into this system. Okay, it'll help you give a sense, say, wow, okay, that's, that makes sense. Versus, think about what everyone else is doing, right? Think about the mess. Don't do it. I mean, this is the system. This is what makes the system really stand out, really special, one of a kind. If you look at how, and again, watch the service dog videos, will really give you a good sense of how, when I start to, motivate dogs to respond a certain way. Once the relationship is cleaned up, then I start to put certain expectations on the dog, okay, through certain tasks. And then it's done the right way, and then when you're out with the dog at wherever, that dog's going to respond. Everything is going to fall apart. You don't have to have a treat pouch, on your side, like a picked candy machine, trying to bribe the dog to do something. I mean, think about it. It's ridiculous. So this is all about the right standard, the right path. Verbal commands, they do happen at the right time. Thanks for watching.